Hey guys, it's Candy in the Land of Sushi and welcome back to my channel. In recent years, there has been an increase in the number of people coming to Japan as foreign language students. Most of them carry the hopes of acquiring the proper visa to work and live here in Japan. So in today's video, I have interviewed a friend who used to be a language student here in Japan. So if you want to learn more about their challenges and successes as language students, then please keep on watching. Hi Tesby!
Hi, Andy. It's been a while.
Been a while. First of all, thank you very much for saying yes to do this video with me. Would you like to tell my viewers a brief introduction about yourself?
My name is Tesby Magayano. I've been living in Japan for about 2.5 years now. I came in Japan, particularly in Okinawa, last January 2018 to study Japanese or comprehensive Japanese language studies. So I studied in Okinawa in International Center for Language and Culture from January 2018, and I graduated in the said program in June 2019.
So that's a 2-year program?
I enrolled the 1 year and 3-month program. So I'm supposed to graduate by March of 2019. But when I asked the school about it, since they told me that my target is to find a job, they told me to keep studying until I find a job. That's it.
I see. Okay. So what made you decide to come to Japan?
To be honest, it has been my dream since I was a kid to go to Japan. I used to work as a preschool teacher. But after that, I asked permission from my mom 6 years before. So that was 2014. I wanted to go to Japan, something like that. But my mom didn't agree. Maybe because my mom saw that I was not prepared yet. 3 years ago, at that time, I just resigned from my work as a high school teacher. And then my mom just told me that she's interested in learning Japanese. I realized that I have this interest in learning the language. So she told me to search for schools. And I landed this school near my mom's office, which is xoxo. So it's xoxo Japanese Language Tutorial Center. And when they told me that they're opening for student visa, so my mom told me to inquire more about it. That's the time that I got interested and I got enrolled in the Japanese school in Davao.
Oh, so you enrolled in a Japanese school in the Philippines first before coming to...
Yes.
And how long was the program in the Philippines?
I enrolled on a weekend program. So that was from Saturdays and Sundays. And we have to study for whole day. But right now, they don't have anymore the weekend program. So usually, they recommended the weeknights. It's like 3 to 4 times a week. I think that was 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then they also have this afternoon program. But at that time, it's good for 3 months for N5 level. 3 to 4 months, I think.
So is it a prerequisite to study in the Philippines before coming to Japan as a language student?
Yes, because the Japanese immigration they're kind of strict with regards to requirements of student visa. And as much as possible, if you want to enroll in a Japanese school here in Japan, they require for you to study a number of hours in your country in terms of the Japanese language study. So let's say, for example, in my program, like I'm required to study, I think that was 125 hours. I'm not sure. It's still not yet a guarantee that you would be enrolled in a Japanese school here in Japan. You still have to undergo set of interviews. So they have to check your kaiwa or your conversation check, and then they have to check your hiragana and katakana skill.
Well, that's kind of like strict. So,
well, I guess
for Filipinos, or is that like in the whole of Asia, like Vietnam?
I think that depends on the school, because in my school, they really are particular. Like part of their entrance examination is for you to first check your English. And then the second one is they will interview you, but you have to try your best to speak in Nihongo. And then they will let you identify different characters, those sort of questions.
So did you have to pay for that program? And how much was in the Philippines, how much was the tuition fee?
In xoxo, I only paid 15,000 for the entire program. But right now, it's not only the N5 level, they have to include the N4 level. So it's not anymore 15,000. But the good thing about that school is you can pay it by installment. So you can only pay the down payment and then you can pay the tuition monthly.
Okay.
So that's the good thing about that Japanese school.
So Tesby and I were classmates back in college, right? I was just curious because I came to Japan as a teacher. And why did you decide to come to Japan and be a language student first rather than like coming here to work? Because you can come here to work as an English teacher, right?
Well, honestly, 3 years ago, before I enrolled in the Japanese school in Davao, my mom and I used to watch your videos as to how am I going to apply as an ALT. I remember that one. And then my mom told me like, Kyle, the process is too long. Yeah. And then I told my mom, yeah, I know. And then if I also enroll in Japanese school, the process would also be long.
And you have to pay, right? You have to pay money for the tuition fee, and it's not that cheap. I heard it's not that cheap.
Yeah. But when I went to Psycho and then I asked about the student visa program, if you want to stay for a longer period in Japan or for long term, go for student visa program. Maybe because the reason is that aside from learning Nihongo, maybe if there are a lot of opportunities that you may want to pursue aside from education or aside from being an ALP, then you have this chance since you will gain Japanese language skills. So that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, you have more edge. There are a lot of language schools in Japan. So why did you choose this particular school?
The most common place that people go to is Tokyo. And my teacher at that time in Psycho, he only recommended the schools that are in Tokyo. But I told him like, I don't want to go to a more crowded, so a place where there are a lot of people. So he told me that maybe you want to study in Okinawa, since Okinawa has a lot of beautiful beaches. Something. And the climate is also almost the same with the Philippines, and even the beaches, I think, and also the people there. The people in Okinawa, they are as kind as those people in the Philippines, maybe because the life in Okinawa is very laid back, and in terms of adjustment, you can easily adjust there. So that's why I told my teacher that I want to study in Okinawa, and that's where it started. So they already contacted the school, and then we had the orientation. I think that was August 2017, and then after that, the owner of the Japanese school in Okinawa, he came to our Japanese school in Davao to get to know who are those students who will be coming to Okinawa. So I got interviewed at that time.
Okay, so Psycho is more like an agency or something like that?
Actually, it's not an agency. It's a Japanese school. But what they usually do is, if there are students interested in the student visa program, they can just they're a linkage to that school. So
okay, so they're like the middleman or something.
Yeah, it's something like that. They're the middleman.
Do you have to pay for these services?
The only thing that I paid at the time was the document translation, and then the tuition fee, good for at that time the first 5 months. So my tuition fee in Okinawa.
So Psycho is a Japanese school in the Philippines, and they have schools. They can refer you to schools in Japan, and they will somehow match you.
Yeah.
In this particular school that you study, do they have short-term programs and long-term programs?
Yes, they have short-term programs, but that depends on your visa. Like, for example, if your visa is only 3 months, then they can only allow you to study for 3 months. But if you really applied for more than 3 months, then automatically you are enrolled for a 1 year and 3 month Japanese language program. So that's actually the basic, the 1 year and 3 months. And then after that, it's up to you whether you're going to extend. So the longest term that you could study there is 2 years.
So how is your life as a language student in Okinawa?
How can I describe it? It's like a roller coaster ride. So of course there's always the ups and there's always the downs. And if you were to ask me, I find it very meaningful. Although it's difficult, but it's very fulfilling. But actually it's very fun because you get to meet different types of people. It's not just Filipinos, but you get to meet people coming from different countries. Like, for example, in my class, there are a lot of Nepalis. There are students who came from Kyrgyzstan. So it's very interesting because I don't know anything about Kyrgyzstan. I get to be immersed in their culture.
What's the population like in that particular school?
There were a lot of Nepalis and then Kyrgyz. At that time, the Filipinos were just a minority.
So have you asked them why they came to Japan? Was it because they also want to work and live here permanently?
Actually, their main goal is to study in Japan because most of my friends from Nepal and Kyrgyzstan, they're younger than I am. So basically, they are 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old.
I see. So they didn't have the intention of like working and living here in Japan.
I think they have the intention of working. That's why after they study Japanese in a Japanese school, they enroll in Senmongakko, which is they have to study in that technical school with the course of their choice for 2 years. And then after that, they will look for jobs. And probably stay here for a longer time.
Okay, so
Mm-mm.
how much did you have to spend for like the entire course?
When I studied 2 years ago, at least for processing of the documents at the time, that was 35,000 pesos. And then the tuition fee at that time, it's not really 500,000 pesos, but if you sum it up at the time, that was 300,000 pesos.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
But that was good for January to June program.
And that
And,
does it include the board and lodging?
Yes, it's already included. If you will not pay for the dorm fee, you will have to look for a place to stay on your own.
But what about now? Did they increase the tuition fee?
I think it stayed the same.
Stay the same.
If there's a difference, there's only a little because I base it on my brother's tuition fee because my brother is studying in Okinawa right now also.
No.
He's actually enrolled in a 2-year Japanese language course.